Hello and welcome to PolyInnovator. This is the PolyInContent Digest review of Repurposed.io. I am Dustin Miller, PolyInnovator, and as you can see here, we are on the website, and I thought we'd go over the tool today. And I was supposed to get this out yesterday, but ended up getting too busy with work and an interview that I had to push this to today's morning. So this will come out today. Hopefully it'll help you out in deciding whether or not this tool is right for you. So let's go ahead and get started. Roll that intro. Dustin Miller, PolyInnovator. So Repurpose is honestly quite like Zapier in a way. That is the tool that I like to use to describe it, whereas other tools might be more comparable when it comes to video editors. This one has editors in it, but it does more than just that, and it can help you reach more of an omni-channel presence, I would say. Now, going through the site here, it's very well made. I've definitely seen many different iterations of the site, and I like the way they've approached it. They've definitely gone really into this whole pink color scheme as well. They had this kind of purple as well. It's kind of this cool, light, little fun color scheme. And like I said in the other reviews, I always love it when I see a nice modern website. Now they do have a lot of resources too. They have a little mini course, but as well as they have this really cool 30 ways to repurpose your videos. And honestly, I feel like, honey, I think when we were talking about this, we were doing some mind maps there. I feel like that's when you guys remade this, you used the mind map because that looks a lot more clean. Now, when it comes to repurposing, there's so much you can do with all your different content. Like this video could be transcribed, it could be cut out the audio. You can do all kinds of different stuff when it comes to making content. Now, with a video like this, so it's very visual heavy, I probably wouldn't cut out the audio. But for most videos that you do, you can do that. And you can use this tool to do it for you. So let's go ahead and hop into the tool. And this is what you see in the beginning. It tries to give you this little tutorial video. What I'm going to do is actually create a workflow. Or maybe I have to go ahead.
Hi, and welcome to Repurpose.io. We're here to help. So we've listed some of the most popular features on the platform. Want to learn how it's done? Click the link on the screen. Let's get started.
Sweet. So I want to add some connections here. Now, since this is a new account, I want to make sure I add my YouTube. So let's go ahead, YouTube. And then, yeah, I'm just going to name it YouTube here. Now let's do an output. I'm going to do Instagram. And I'm connected. Just for privacy, I didn't put my information there. And so now I have a source and a destination. They could actually both be both, but for me, I'm just going to use YouTube to Instagram. And let's go ahead and make a new workflow from there. Now, workflows you can kind of see as like zaps when it comes to like if this, then that. So if I create a new workflow, let's say I want to do YouTube video to Instagram reel. So the source is YouTube. Let's do this main channel. It has all my playlists there, which is really awesome. One thing I highly suggest, this is not necessarily to do with Repurpose, but as you can see, it actually helps in Repurpose quite a bit, is add an emoji to your playlist. Not only does it add a little bit more flair, but it helps you identify which playlist is which. And not only you, but your people who are watching your playlist too. So like when I'm looking for a playlist to add to a video, when I upload a new video, I look for the emoji rather than the words. It makes it way quicker. And in this case too, I can do the same thing. I'm just gonna do the main channel next. And then we're going to do snippets. So I'm going to upload a video snippet. Actually, I think snippets might be a YouTube thing. I need to do that on the Instagram. So destination will be Instagram. I'm going to choose my account. It's going to be Reels. Done. So all you got to do to set it up, and then you can go into the actual content itself and see what you can do. Now you have a manual versus auto option here. Until you have it just right, I would definitely not choose auto just yet. You want to make sure your template's right, you have all your information correct, and that way you're not generating content that's not proper, right? So let's go into view content here. All these are my videos on the channel, and it goes pretty extensively far back too. I think it's pretty much all the videos. And honestly, just so Hanny and the team knows, I like how this looks, considering how I used to use the old version of the tool and everything was a lot more condensed. I think I do like zooming out a little bit more, but there's just a lot more space here. It doesn't feel as cramped, and I think that's a very good change. All right, let's see. So for the settings here, you can change the sizings. I want to make it a vertical video. Let's go to predefined templates because I don't have any templates on this account. Since it's a vertical one, let's find a nice vertical template. I like this dark one. Intro file, outro file. That's something I really want to do more of. So actually, I have tons and tons of clips that I made through in the past, a long time ago, like through CrossClip, for example, or there's clips from my gaming channel or gaming scenes that I've done, and they're horizontal. I've turned them to vertical, but there's no way for me to add an outro to those videos. And so it's a very frustrating situation. So at some point, if I were to use this instead, I could just have this outro vid already implemented into the system. And so as soon as it makes the video into this vertical format, it'll add that outro. Okay. Not all content, but on this date and newer, choose dates, boom. Now you can do it with specific hashtags too. So maybe you can like say, I just want shorts to show up or something like that. I feel like you could also do a specific series. That's what's a good use case for that. Let's see. Instagram feed, email notifications, successful publish. If you're publishing a lot, you might not want that many emails, but it's probably useful if you're doing it once a week. Auto trim videos to fit your destination. I don't know if necessarily, Instagram has like a 90-second limit, so you don't really need that per se. If you're doing to YouTube shorts, then it'll be a little more prudent. Ooh, why don't we try to take one of these shorts that I've already made? So I've already turned it into a short. It's already going to be about 60 seconds long. If I publish it now, let's see. Okay. Subtitle file from YouTube. Captions. Is there a way for me to change the captions? Yes, there is. Perfect. I do not like that font at all. Let's say Paytone. Okay, cool. Let's also increase the size. Can I? I guess not. All right. Moving that out of the way there a little bit. Cool. So let's publish now and let's see what the result is. I'll show you in just a moment. It is queued, so let's go ahead and pause and wait for the queue to finish. The other cool thing is that it takes the transcripts from YouTube as well, so that way you don't have to retranscribe in the tool. It can do that, I'm pretty sure, but you don't have to if you already have a source file like that. And I'm pretty sure you're able to upload your own SRT as well. At least that's what I understand. While we're waiting for that to load, it shouldn't take too long, but let's go ahead and go over to pricing real quick too. Now, this pricing plan is a bit exponential when it comes to there, but the reason being is that the agency plan is there. So if you're managing a lot of different accounts and you need a lot of different services and workflows together, you can do that. And so what you really just need to look at is these two right here. So the content marketer and the podcasting plan. So podcasting plan is audio, content marketer is audio and video. Now, I think at one point they experimented with having like audio, video, then both. Now they just have the more shorter plan and the bigger plan. One thing that I think I've mentioned the team before, and I mentioned in the written review post of this review, the written part of the review, is that I would like to see a cheaper plan because these allow you to have basically as unlimited workflows, it seems. You can have up to 5 of each social, which is honestly a pretty generous limit right there, because that means like 5 YouTubes and 5 Instagrams, that kind of thing. I have 3 Instagrams, only 2 of them I use, and I have technically 3 YouTubes, but only 2 of them I use, so I wouldn't necessarily ever fill that up, but I definitely would probably fill up a lot of the workflows. So what I honestly thought what might be a good case is that, like, if you have a podcast, this is a great way. This is honestly $15 a month is a pretty good price compared to all those other repurposing tools to make those audiograms. So the podcasting plan is honestly really on point for there. When it comes to the content marketer's plan, for someone like me who's only going to be using a handful of workflows, I feel like this is a little too pricey, and I get that it's worth the price. If you're using it to its fullest extent, $25 is worth the price. But for someone like me who might only want 3 workflows, it would be really nice if we had like a $5 plan over there. That's just my personal preference. And if I were to use this tool, I would have to use the content marketer plan because I need to use video. I mainly want to repurpose my video content because a lot of my podcasts are made through videos. So my 2 series, the PolyInContent series, which is video, blog post, and podcast, the podcast is just cut out of the audio. My other series is the video interviews. So they're already videos that turn into podcasts anyways. And so the only thing that's left are like my fireside micro polycasts, maybe a couple polycasts here and there. And so for the most part, those don't really need to be repurposed into video or audiograms because they're just already kind of short anyways. So the 2 series that actually make up the meat of my podcast already have audio files. So I wouldn't necessarily need that particular workflow. It's just everyone's use case is different. And so some people will come in perfect for them. Other people might be like, okay, maybe not so much. But yeah. And then when we come to the resources, they have a lot of stuff on their blog and YouTube. Honestly, out of all the tools, I feel like this is the most prolific when it comes to creating content too. And so when you go to like the YouTube channel, for example, they have a ton of not only informational, but also educational for their tool as well, content. And they've been at it for a while as well. This is one of those brands that's been around since the beginning of these content repurposing tools. And so one thing I want to share with you actually is the journey that I went through. So ages ago, this is probably 2017, 2018, I think, something like that. I was maybe even 2019, because I think, yeah, either way, it was a while back, and I was diving into this idea of content repurposing. So Gary Vee had always been talking about it quite a bit on his channel, and a lot of other people have too. He wasn't the only one that I saw doing it, but he was the one that was most like prolific. Hey, you should be making 60 pieces of content a day. And honestly, I saw the same thing he was seeing. Like when I looked at different social networks, making that much content actually made sense, to me at least. But I didn't know how to do it, because even though I can create content, like I'm making this video right now, and I made the blog post from scratch, I use a little bit of a template for the review process to make sure it's the same flow for each tool. But beyond that, I make the review myself. I can do that creative, but repurposing it at least allows me to take this content and spread it out even further. How do I do that? So I ended up going on Bing and Google, and I think even Yahoo, and then on each one of those, I went to the web search, the video search, and the image search. And so that's 9 tabs just for searching, and then each one opening up, who knows, 60 to 100 tabs each. And so I was just diving into just hundreds of tabs about content repurposing and trying to find out what I could learn and what secrets or what tools could I find to help me do this. Back then, we didn't have Recast or Chopcast. We only really had maybe like Zuddle or what's it called, Wave, Headliner, or whatever. We only really had those tools for audiograms, and maybe a couple other ones for, yeah, because there was no video beam tools at that point. And so Repurpose popped up on like just one little image, scrolling down a ways. Their SEO's gotten a lot better since then, but back then it wasn't big enough to really make that much of a SEO impact just yet. But I managed to find them, and I came to the website, and I was scrolling through, and I went through their entire site and was super excited. I reached out through the support bubble and ended up, back then they had a smaller team, so back then I was able to get in touch with the founder, Hanny, and we ended up having a great conversation, just nerding out about content repurposing and having a great convo, and that got me into this tool. And it's just one of those things where over the course of the time, I've seen this tool evolve. I've seen it added more features, more podcast destinations even, so it's really cool. And I came back to check for this. It's still queued, so it means it must be taking a little bit more time. So I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that, like, throughout this recording process, it's still queued. While we're waiting, I also wanted to go over some of the connections you can do. So WordPress is still not quite there just yet. I think it's going to be featured here soon. They have a lot of new stuff coming in the next 6 months or so be looking forward to that. They have a couple podcast destinations there. I think that it's honestly up to the podcast platforms, not so much Repurpose. They're actually trying to get as many as possible, and this is, I think Captivate's still kind of new since the last time I used it, so they're adding more as much as they can. Some tools are just a little bit more finicky about it. These two are new since the last time I was here. I don't personally use them myself, but I'm glad they have more stuff. TikTok, oh, I'm so glad. They were actually, I'm pretty sure you guys were one of the first ones who got TikTok. Instagram is one of those things where the Instagram API back in the day used to be such a pain in the butt, because I would be talking to so many social media platforms, management platforms, and repurposing tools, and they would always complain about Instagram. Nowadays, it's a little bit more open, but I'm just glad to see it's there in full throttle. Video podcast source. So I'm still a little confused by this, but I think essentially, like with Spotify, for example, you can do video podcasts. I haven't heard anything about iTunes doing it, but I presume that's because like it's a very limited feature. But for those who have it, that's probably a very useful repurposing tool, because maybe you're posting just to Spotify, but not to YouTube. Audio podcast source, perfect. Put RSS feed in there. Zoom as a source is interesting too. I personally don't like recording through Zoom anymore just because it just compresses your files so terribly. But if I still was using it profusely, especially like if you have to use it for work, you might as well use it for recording, because if you're already paying for it, you might as well use it. In that case, using this as a source, accelerate your progress way faster. Using Dropbox or Google Drive is a great way to automate things. And what's really cool, and something I mentioned in the post too, is that might be a great way to actually combine this with other tools. So let's say you have an automation set up through like Uncanny GG or some of the more gaming content repurposing tools that just like automatically connect with your Twitch and just do it automatically, or you have your mods doing it. So like you already have someone else making the clips and you need to be able to find a way to share it more easily. You can have those tools, send it to the drive, and then use Repurpose to send it out. So you don't necessarily even have to use Repurpose to make the videos, although they obviously can, and I'll show you the result here in a moment. But it's interesting how you can actually use it in other ways too, and that's one thing I wanted to drive home. So I took a picture on the blog post, but I said I was going to go through all the templates when it came to the video. So here's what it looks like. They're very simple, but it's one of those things. Well, these get a little bit more interesting when it comes to the audiograms, but they definitely do the trick, especially if you're trying to make a lot at once too. And you can always mess around with them too. They have this Canva-like video editor. So I want to do vertical personally. Let's say test. So you can go in here, you can change where the headline is. I'm not a fan of this font. So one thing I mentioned in the post, I want to mention again, is that it would be really nice if I could search for fonts here, because I don't like sans serif, for example. Decrease the size. Okay, boom. It has the timeline here. Let's change the color. Boom. Oh, I think I messed up my OBS there. And so I changed my color to my color there. And then I want to add like a subheadline, or let's say captions down here. So boom, click. I don't know why I can't drag there, but okay. Boom, let's make this, can I make it bigger? I guess not. All right, and then let's see, emojis. I want to add a wink emoji for some reason. Boom. Icons. Just playing around with it, but you can do a lot with it. And let's say I want to change the backgrounds. Let's give it this generic background, or I can upload my own, I think, at some point too. Yeah, uploads here. You can do GIFs. That's kind of cool. Or perhaps not. But either way, it's still kind of a cool little editor. Let's go back. Oh, it just took a second. I got click happy. Alrighty. And this is a new feature that I hadn't seen before, was this calendar. I presume when you have things scheduled, it's going to pop up here. I don't have anything scheduled, but it's a nice looking calendar, and it definitely does the trick when it needs to see something from a big holistic point of view. So just real quick, I wanted to show you the AI caption generator tool. This video short is super short, as I said. Like, it's one of those things where it's 16 seconds long, but it managed to come up with this unique caption here. Are you ready to level up your career? Check out the PolyInnovator blog to get the latest industry news and insights. Yeah, sure, why not? From tech trends to career advice, and our blog, well, my blog has something for everyone. Yeah. So, I mean, that's pretty good. I just wanted to, like, I haven't really used it yet, and you get like 10 tries when it comes to the free trials, so you might as well try it out. So yeah, that's it. Going back to the workflows here, you can actually do a lot of different workflows depending on which source and basically action and destination you want to do. There's a lot of different combinations. You can do YouTube videos, you can do shorts, you can do reels. So they have a lot of different options there. Let's go back to the one we were already doing. Every once in a while, you might need to refresh a connection, but that might be not as much as it used to be. Still cute. Okay. So while I was waiting, I was trying to mess around with some of the editors here, and there's no way to trim the video anymore. Back in the day with Repurpose, they had this little timeline here. So I could choose, I want to do this clip of this video, because this video is about 15 minutes long. It's not going to work on, well, it might work on IGTV, but it won't work on Reels. And it says auto trim, but it doesn't necessarily tell me what it's auto trim. It's probably just going to trim the first minute, perhaps. And the thumbnail, I was able to like pick one, and let's say, okay, it wants to pick it from 484, but like, I don't really know what it's trying to do there when it comes to that particular part. That might be a usability thing, but like I try to do it with all the tools. If I come across a problem, I'm going to share it with you guys on here. So let's see if I can maybe change the workflow, because this is from YouTube to Instagram Reels. So maybe I can do YouTube to Instagram. I just want to make sure, completely transparent. Upload video, not full video. So, okay, maybe this is what it is. When it says clips, I think of clips on YouTube. So I just want to be taking my clips from there. Instagram, Reels. Okay, let's just do that. Maybe that's the way I need to set it up. In which case, 25. What? Oh, it's actually a good moment to share that if you have timestamps in your video itself, Repurpose will pick those up, and so that's really useful too. So let's go ahead and use that. So let's say these are pretty short here, 5 minutes. Let's try with that one. So let's see, born subtitles in the video, subtitle file from YouTube. What is going to use? Sure, not that. I guess we have to do auto trim, publish now. Which is weird to me, because it's one of those things where you used to be able to choose how long a video is. It was kind of slow for some of these longer videos back then, but I figured that now that it's a little bit newer, that it'll be a bit faster. But I don't see that. I don't see that at all. Now, could this be a change in the usability? Maybe auto trim is very powerful. I don't know. I'm still just getting used to it, just like you guys. So let's go back to that first workflow to see if we can see that thing is finished yet. Mind you, when I pause the recording, I don't pause it for very long. I scrolled Twitter for a few minutes there just to see while I was waiting. Still cute. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up here. I think a lot of the processing time does happen in the background. I remember when I was repurposing from my Facebook to YouTube that it ended up taking a while and I had to just leave it for a while to let it go. I was surprised it took so long for a 16-second clip, but perhaps that's just because it needs to go through a process. Maybe there's a long queue. You never know. There's a lot of people who use this tool, a lot of big names too. I think even John Lee DeMoss was using it or something like that. And so it's just one of those things where you can do a lot with your video content as well as audio content too, so you can see that here. And I wanted to just share my experience with you when I just open it up brand new, what happens. Now when it comes to a lot of this, it's really made to just kind of have a team in the background for you essentially, but the tool being that team. So you set up those automations. Like I said, I generally don't do auto per se, but it's one of those things where if you just go in there and do manually, leave it be, let it queue, and then come back however long later and see like, okay, check to make sure it's there, boom. One thing I would definitely suggest is make sure you check. So I don't want to do too long of a video here, but in the blog post, I leave a story about my experience with Repurpose in the past. And while I love the tool, I love the founder, I love the team, I had a bad experience where basically I let the automation fully do it on its own and something messed up in the background. There was many different reasons. There was a YouTube API being an issue that was on YouTube, not Repurpose. There was me doing too many videos at once because I was doing like once a day even. And then I think there was one day I even did 2 interviews in one day. So there's big files, long videos, and I did so many short time span that it overloaded, I think, the system a little bit. But that was, again, 2 years ago. It was a while back, and so the tool has changed since then. But I definitely encourage you to go read that story in the blog post. I don't want to repeat it here. And check out the tool. Repurpose has a lot to offer, especially if you need to have a team behind you, essentially having your own Gary V team at Gary V behind you. So Team Dustin, if you will, or Team Repurpose. And so please go check it out. Link is in the description. Peace out.